Okay, I think I sent this final model, my final model to you. I'm not sure if I had this driveway in or not. If I didn't, just let me know and I'll show you how I did. All it was a wall that was 6 inches thick and 20 feet wide, and I just did an arbitrary in plan view. I just did an arbitrary pavement. And you'll see in the final rendering how it helps sort of put the pavement on the ground. Anyway, but the next step after we've made the model, and this is one of the reasons why we identified each of the different materials, the roof and the walls and the glass and the mullions with separate colors, is because now we're going to create different layers in the model with only the specific layers. So a layer for glass, a layer for the walls, a layer for the roof, a layer for trim, that kind of thing. Add a new layer, and we'll start with the roofs just to start. So I'll label it roof, and when you go on to one of the roof materials, before you click, hold down the control key and click, and you'll get a dialog box that comes up. In the sixth item down, it says select all with same material. So we've got all of the roof pieces, components. So make sure that the roof layer that you just created is selected with the blue dot. You go down to the paint bucket, go all the way over to the layer palette, and want to move all of the roof elements to that layer. And then let's create another layer, and let's create it and call it walls, and make it the active layer, and just turn off the roof. Double click on it. Now go down to any wall, hold the control key down again, click on it, go down to select all with the same material, and go back and get your layer device and move everything to that. Make another layer, let's call it glass. Glass. Make that the active layer, turn off walls. Go down into some glass area, control key down, select all of the same material. Because the glass is sort of behind a lot of elements, it doesn't look like it's selected, but trust me, it is. Get your layer tool, click anywhere, and make another layer called trim. And there's no order to this. I'm just, as I'm thinking of them, I'm just going down through and doing them. It's one of the reasons why I turn them off as I go. That way I get a reminder of what's left. Another layer called let's see what's left. I don't know what's left. So I'm going to go back up and make the model active. Oh, and I didn't, when I selected the trim, I didn't go in and select all same. There we go. And now move all of those to the trim layer. And make a new, make the model active. Again, we're just trying to figure out if there's anything left. Okay, it looks like there's a couple of things that I didn't call trim, but while I'm looking at it right here, let's select the stone. So control key down, same material, go up, make another layer, call it stone, make it active, move your layer, with the layer tool. And now I think everything else is trim of one form or another. Let's see. Oh no, we've got, okay. I'm really not sure on these doors whether they're going to be glass or not. If it's a community room or more of a utilitarian area, I don't know. I really don't know. So right now we'll make them the trim color. So the only thing I don't want to have on the trim layer is this hardware that I put in, and I think again, I don't remember if I told you how I did that, but if I didn't, let me know and I will do that. But that is one of the component models that I did send to you. I sent you a whole bunch of different kinds of models, and that's one of them. So we'll go back up here real quick and make another layer and call it door hardware. And move everything there to that. And then we've got the driveway is another one. It should be all on its own layer, driveway. And we'll just go, since there's only one of them, just go down and literally select it. Get your layer move tool, and then I think we'll zoom away a little bit. Okay, now let's just do select all, and we want to put all of that stuff on the trim layer. Go put the active layers trim layer. Click anywhere your layer move tool is still active, so click and you'll move all of that stuff to that layer. So now what we want to do is turn on all the layers. Turn everything on, and we want to have a model that only has none of the DWG stuff, because the DWG stuff slows down the rendering times and moving around in space. So just go up and click on the plan, hold the control key down, click on plan, go down, third one down, delete, and it's going to tell you that something's on that layer, but that's okay. And click on the front elevation, the side elevation, the model, and the entry elevation, and hold the control key down and click on any one of the blue ones, and then delete. Again, it's going to say there's stuff on there. And let's see, roof, walls, glass, trim, stone, door hardware, driveway. So that's it. Now what we want to do is do save as, and you can see here I have already done it, but make a folder and call it rend pieces, R-E-N-D PCS, or something like that, rendering pieces or rendering components or something like that. This is where you're going to put all of the pieces that you're going to need for the rendering. And when you do that, open that up and save, call it church space color. Church space color, okay? And save it. Okay, once you do that, what we want to do is we want to, like I said, we want to put we want to create a rendering of each of these with only the specific materials showing. But we also want to make a gray value. So just do select all and go up into your color palette where you have your trim, which is basically it's white, and get your paint bucket tool and click anywhere, and you've made the model white. Okay, so now do file, save as, and go into your rendering pieces folder and call it gray. Okay, so change color to gray and save it. Okay, now it's still everything's still selected. So now what you want to do is you want to find your black color in your palette. Okay, and you want to get your paint bucket and you want to click and make it all black. Then what you want to do is go back up to the top of your list, and the first thing we have is the roof, and you want to lock all the layers except the roof, and do select all, and then go get your trim or your white color, and your paint bucket will still be selected, so just click, and then go File, Save As, and in your rendering pieces folder, but you want to change it to roof. Okay, and you save, and then you change. It's all still selected. You want to change it black back to black. Okay, paint bucket still selected, so you just need to click, and then you want to lock that layer. Open up the walls layer. Do select all. Go back, get your white. Click. File, Save As, and now you call this walls. You save it, go back and make it black again. Go up to your layers, lock wall, open up glass, do select all, white. All right, just around and around and around you go, and then you go File, Save As. Change walls to glass. Okay, save. Lock that layer. Open up the. Whoops, I'm sorry. You want to make the glass black. Lock that layer. Open up the trim layer. Do select all. Get your trim color again. Click. Okay, File. Save As. Trim is the name on this one. Trim. Save. Okay. Go back and change it back to black. Oops. Back to black. Lock the trim layer. Open up the stone layer. Make it white. Whoops. I didn't. I thought I changed the trim to black, but I guess I didn't. So we'll go back to black. Click. There we go. Lock the trim layer, unlock the stone layer, do select all, get your white trim, click, File, Save As, stone, go back to black, click, lock the stone, open up door hardware. I know this is a little tiny one, but it's going to count later. Get your white, click. Oh, you can't even see it, but it is there. File, Save As, door hardware. Click. Okay, get your black. Select. Lock that layer, open up your driveway layer, go back to your white, do select all, click, File, Save As, driveway, save. Okay, now you can just close up Form Z right now, because you don't need it anymore. All right. Now what you want to do is, I'm assuming that, or maybe you didn't, but if you do know how to move applications to your dock on the bottom and do whatever they're called so that they appear in your but there's another application in the Form Z applications folder. It's called Form Z Imager, because we are licensed with what they call Render Zone. So we have an add-on to Form Z. So once you put that on your dock, launch it, and it'll come up and in a second. And what you want to do is you've got to, if you don't see this window, just go up to File and New Imager Set, or Command N. And you want to go down and click on Add, and go to where your rend images folder resides, wherever you put it. Maybe you put it on your desktop. And you'll see you'll have all of these files that we just created. And so just double click on one, and in your model you'll see a final view. When I pick a view, let's say sometimes I send 2 or 3 views to a client, not always, but sometimes. When they finally pick one that they want to have the rendering done, I then go back and label it in Form Z and call it final. So just click on final and click OK, and it'll bring it into the imager. Now what you want to do is you want to bring each one of those models in to Form Z, into imager. So you're going to have to go back and forth to your folder. Mine's going to be different each time. And always click on final and do this for every single one. And I know it's repetitive, but a lot of things are. So we'll go to stone, final, okay, I'm not going to waste your time, but with that repetition, you just keep going. Every single one of them you load. Okay, once you got them all in here, then what you want to do is under rendering type, it'll come in automatically as wireframe. Under rendering type, you want to click that little diamond that's just to the right, and sometimes you have to click on it a couple of times. And you want to go down to all render zone. And all of the models, all of them will become render zone models. And what we want to do is click on one of them and go to image options. Image options is what you want. And you want to just double check to make sure that by number of pixels, this is where you set the resolution of the rendering that's going to be produced. I use 4800 by 3600, I guess it is. Totally arbitrary, but that is basically a 24 by 36 at 300 pixels an inch. So it's a decent size, and usually you can blow that up to billboard size if you want to, with Photoshop now. So once we see that that's done, we then go down, and down here sort of on the bottom is generate, and we want to generate a rendering. It'll go right through each one of them, and it'll take a little time sometimes. So this is the time you get up and go have dinner, or I sometimes set these all up and I go to bed, so they're ready for me in the morning. But you can do it however you want to do it. And the next step is going to be pulling these images into Photoshop. Now I know you don't have at this point in time a membership to CC, Adobe CC, but I promised you that I would do it for a year for you, and I know we'll do it. So we'll set that up in the near future, so you have that. By the time you get to this stage, you can move to that that section. So I'm going to pause here because we don't need to sit here and watch the screen, but I'm just going to let these 3 generate, and then I'll be back. Okay, once you've opened up each of those TIFF files that you rendered out of Form Z, find the one you labeled color, and that's going to be the one we're going to start working on. What our objective is now is to bring each one of those separate files, Photoshop files, in as a new layer over the top of this color file that we did. So you simply, I use they're all on the upper, in Photoshop, they're all labeled across the way here. So I just simply go and click on one, and do select all, copy, and then I close it, make sure I'm on my file here, and I'm going to go to it comes in as a background, as you know. So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to change it to the name of the layer is going to be called color, and then I'm going to paste. And the beauty of this process is that each layer, when we paste it, gets pasted exactly right over the top of the next one, because they're all exactly the same pixel size, etc. So this layer is precisely on top of the other one. So then the next layer I've got up here is glass. So I go to do select all, copy, and then close the glass layer, and then I do paste and label the glass layer glass, and the second layer I brought in was called trim, and the next layer I've got is walls. I do select all, copy, W, paste, double click on it, call it walls, W-A-L-L-S, W-A-L-L-S, enter. The next one's gray. Now gray I like to put on top of the color, the layer just above the color. So I'm going to select all, copy, W for close. I'm going to go down and select the color layer in my layers palette over here on Photoshop. I'm going to do paste. It's going to come in right above it. I'm going to call it gray. My next layer is stone. Select all, W, Command C for copy, Command W for close. Go back up here and make sure walls, my last layer is selected, so I'm working back up above everything. Paste, call it stone. My next layer is the door hardware. Select all, copy, W, paste, double click, door hardware. Door hard is enough for me. And then the driveway is select all, copy, W, and then paste, double click on the layer, driveway. Okay, now that we've got all of the layers in Photoshop with the color on the bottom and the gray the next one up, and then the order from there on up doesn't really make any difference at all. But the next thing we need to do is we need to isolate the areas that we made white. In other words, the layer I'm looking at, the one I'm looking at is the driveway. So my driveway is white, the building is black, and the background is, in my case, a beige color. So you want to do this with the magic wand tool, and you want to set your up in the top. Right on the top of Photoshop, you want to set the sample size to 0, and you want the tolerance to be 0. Okay? And so what you want to do is you want to select the beige color. And in my particular case, there's a section in the middle of the pavement that's still beige. I could hold the shift key down and click on it. But I find it's easier to go to subject or select and go down to similar, and it looks in the file for any color that's similar, and since we've got our tolerance set to 0, it's only looking for that specific color only. So what I want to do is I want to make that black. So everything except the pavement in this case is going to be black. So I hold the Option key down and hit the backspace, and it becomes the black that I want. Now, what I really want to do is I want to create a channel, a selection of just the driveway, so that in the future, if I want to do something with the driveway, I just have to do one click and get it, and not go through this whole process. So what I want to do is just click somewhere on the black and do select similar, and now if I go up to the layer, and I've got everything selected, or I selected the black, so I've got everything selected except the driveway. I want to invert that selection. So the way to do that is Command Shift I to invert the selection. And now with the driveway layer selected in my layers palette, go all the way down to the bottom, and the second one in on the bottom of the palette, there's special effects, and then there's the channel. And what you've done is isolated out the driveway. If you turn off all the other layers and you look, you've just got the driveway on that particular layer. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to do every one of these that same way. Okay. Now go to the next layer down, which in my case is door hardware, and click on the beige somewhere and go up to select and go to similar. Okay. Now in our particular case, okay, go back up to, just so you can see what's going on, go up to the driveway and turn it off, and turn off all the other layers except the driveway. Okay. Now if I do select similar, no, excuse me. So I hit the delete, okay, or option delete to fill everything that I've selected with black. Okay, now if you notice, you're going to have to do that on every single layer, right? So turn the layer on below door hardware, whatever one yours is, and I'm just going to turn them all on because I'm going to go right down through each one, and with my option key delete, just so you can see what's going on. I'm going to go to walls and I'm going to go to, excuse me, walls, and turn that on. I'm going to go to glass. I'm going to go to trim, just all the way down. And even the gray. Oops, let's turn the trim off so you can see it, turn the gray on. Okay, that is everything, you know. And even the color. Even the color. Okay. Now since I'm down here on the color, I'm just going to hit the channel. Whoops, I didn't invert it. Okay, I can undo, Command Z, and then do Command Shift I, and then hit the channel. Okay. Now, just so you can see what's going on, I don't usually turn these on and off. I just go right up because I know what's happening. But we'll go to the gray. We'll select the black. We'll select similar, so we get the anything that's not, okay, contiguous with wherever we clicked. We'll do Command Shift I, and then we'll go down here to the channel and create a channel. Go up to the next layer, hit the black. Now here's a good indication. All of the little spaces inside the window where the glass is, they're not selected. I clicked outside in the big area, but just go to select and similar, and now it got all of the black. Do Command Shift invert and hit the channel, turn it off, go up to the glass. I know this, and I'm not sure if it's got everything, but I'm just going to go up just to play safe. I'm going to say similar, and then do Command Shift I, and then go to the channel. Walls, same way. I'm going to do similar. Command Shift I. Go over here and do channel. stone, similar, Command Shift I, this is the door hardware. It's a silly little thing, but select, similar, Command Shift I, oops, and then finally the driveway, which we've already done. Okay, now leave all of those layers off. Go down and click on your color layer. Okay, and if you hold the Command key down and go up and click on walls, on the channel side, not the layer, but the channel, the second element, if you click on it, you will have selected the walls. And if you're on your color layer and you're in the color side of it, you can literally, if you did like Command U, which is hue saturation, you can actually go up here to the hue slider, and you can oops, I've got the walls, what was it, glass selected, probably something like that. So just go to the walls layer. What did I do? Okay, I did something funky with the walls. Not quite sure what. Oh, I made the glass black. Weird. Okay, no biggie. No biggie, because I can simply go in, go open, file open, and I'm going to show you this because you'll probably end up go into your files again. Get to the church walls, final diff. Select all, copy, W. In your walls layer, go paste. You're right above it. We do the same scenario that we've been doing. And we've got all the black. So we go Command Shift I. And we go down and make the channel. Okay. Now this one we called walls. We want to put it in the trash. So you can drag it down to a little trash can here. Go back up and relabel layer 1 now, walls. Turn it off, turn your color on, go up here to the walls layer, and with the Command key down, click, and now you have selected the walls. And a little shortcut is Command Shift H, or Command H, excuse me. Command H hides the marching ants, but they're still there. And then go Command U. We have to make sure we got a layer active here. Command U. Okay, what's going on? Color. I've got something. Okay, we're going to go to the walls layer. We're going to click on the walls. We're going to go down to color. And we're going to do Command U. Okay, why isn't it letting me select?
I'm telling you, baby.
What are you telling me?
It's cold outside.
Oh. Okay, and now that you've got everything set up in Photoshop, let me show you kind of how we use this. If you go to the channel side of your walls layer and hold the Command key down and click on it, you'll notice that you get the walls get selected, and making sure that your color layer is active and that you're on the actual image side and not on the channel side. You can go Command U, and you can modify here. I'm going to go lightness on that layer, or hue, and saturation, type of thing. So you've got, you know, you can do a lot with that layer all by itself. And you know, the other thing is let's say the guys came to you and said, oh no, I don't want to have a beige color. So we go down here to the layer, the color layer, and I put a new layer in, and I don't know, pick, you know, I just pick some color. Maybe he wants it in a orange color or something or other that I can't manipulate normally. And once I've got the foreground color selected in whatever color it is, and I can just do over the top of my illustration. And you know, a lot of times, you know, okay, so you can you know, select the various components. You can do layers above. You know, if I went on this layer that we just created and I go up to normal and go multiply, you know, I'm actually multiplying that down on top of the other color. So, you know, if you know, if I wanted to, I could literally go into this layer, into the channel itself. Now, if something's black in the channel, that means it's disappeared. It's still there. You know, that's the nice thing about this. Everything's non-destructive. I could simply go in here and go make sure my black is on my foreground color and go Option Delete, and in the channel I just applied black in the walls area, and now the only thing, you know, that's a, you know, even though I've multiplied down, I'm gonna multiply down onto nothing. So, you know, if I close off that layer, you can see that in the color layer I've gotten rid of the walls, you know. So, you know, if the guy comes in and totally changes something, you can still go in and do it with I call it a tint layer, you know, which this layer could be called. And then in situations like that, you lose the shading part of it. But if I turn on the layer above, which is the gray we created, and do multiply, then we are picking up a lot of the, you know, shading, etc., that's associated with that layer. And you can take that layer and then you can increase or you can decrease the opacity of it, you know, so that the tint is, you know, you can massage it. So you've got lots and lots of control at this point. So that's the end of this particular lesson. The next thing we'll do is we'll start adding some watercolor.